Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here to talk to you about the guidance program in Hillsborough Township. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce the caring individuals who are in the counseling department from K to 12. Some of them were able to be here tonight with us. Others had, actually Rider University is having something tonight that some of the counselors are at. In the elementary school, there's 2,725 students in the elementary schools, and we have 3 school counselors. Diane Ack Mitchell, Diane, is counselor at Amsterdam and Woods Road. Ellen Stem is the counselor at Hillsborough Elementary and Woodfern. Julie West is the counselor at Triangle and Sunnymead. In the intermediate school, we have about 1,200 students, and we have 3 guidance counselors and a support staff person, Nora Brinkowski, Patty Brower, Angela Cleveland. And the support person for Aris is Donna Santanastaso. In the middle school, we have 3 guidance counselors, a student assistance counselor, and a support person. Amy Casagrande. Rafael Martinez is the long-term sub for Mia Corella, who is out on maternity leave. Megan Pierfy. And Anna Mailer is the student assistance counselor, and the support staff is Diane Bruno. At the high school, where there are approximately 2,450 students, we have 10 counselors, 2 SACs, and 3 support people. I think some of them are here tonight. Christina Costa, Laura Housel, Robin Kenny, Toby Kozak, Beth Ann Moran, Phyllis Pinsky, Ian Projan, Karen Sayer, Brian Yaroshevsky. Caitlin Adams is an intern and is also substituting for another counselor who's on maternity leave under the supervision of the other counselors. Rebecca Balaguer and Gil Pilarte are our student assistance counselors, and our 3 support people are Sherry Brusha, Mindy Mulrine, and Maureen Uniskevich. School counselors, we are not what you remember probably as a school counselor when you were in school. School counselors work with all students. We emphasize 3 domains of development: academic, career, and personal and social. We collaborate with everyone: parents, teachers, support staff, administrators, community agencies, and we provide a safe and nurturing place at all school levels. And I'd like to go into some detail about each of the bullets that I have up here. We want the counselors to know we want the students to know who their counselors are. And so we have outreach to them by having small group lessons, classroom lessons that are given to all students, no matter whether they are in basic skills, whether they are in special education, whether they are in reach. All students are exposed to these lessons. Obviously, the lessons differ from level to level, and in each school, the counselors visit the classrooms. In the elementary schools, they visit each classroom at least twice a year with the curriculum. And then at other times, when the teacher and the counselor see that there are issues or problems cropping up in that group of students, and they go in and do a lesson with the students. In the intermediate level, they talk about study skills and cooperative learning, conflict resolution, and career exploration. In the middle school, there's a lot, with adolescents, there's a lot of social interactions that require some intervention from adults, decision-making and refusal skills. And at the high school, you are more familiar with that. I did speak to you about that last year, but we are in the classrooms talking about learning styles, personalities, career searches, college searches, along with the other issues. Now, the SACs, the student assistance counselors, are also going to the classroom, and they have their curriculum as well. While the emphasis is on prevention, we also have them going in and talking about some of the same kinds of skills that the school counselors talk about in refusal skills in making good decisions. We have in the high school, the SACs go into the English classes when they're studying Romeo and Juliet in the 9th grade and talk about the decisions that Romeo and Juliet made and how they may have made better decisions. They go into the health classes. So we are seen, and we want to be seen because we want the kids that once they realize who we are, that if they have problems, it's not a perfect stranger that they're going to talk about their problems. The academic piece is the kinds of things that most people think that guidance counselors do. We look at report cards, we go over progress reports, we teach study skills and organizational skills, particularly to the kids who seem to be having difficulty. All the counselors serve on the intervention and referral services team so that if their particular student is brought before the team, the counselors attend that session and then do the follow-through, contact the parents. They collaborate with teachers to try to figure strategies that are going to help the students learn better, to help students who are maybe less academically prepared, to help them with strategies for differentiating instruction. They meet with the individual students to talk about progress, and they also, at all levels, administer the state tests and do the makeups for the tests. Also, we talk about careers, and the careers, we talk about it from K to 12. And introduce at the appropriate level different skills that you need to be successful in careers, what's out there, what you might like, do a lot of values and aptitudes and interest inventories, expose kids to different kinds of careers through career fairs, through speakers, and we have videos, we have a lot of equipment to use so that the kids are exposed to all different sorts of things. Sorry, I didn't change it. Okay. The social and personal. By far, this is the most difficult part of school counseling, and it's the least understood by the public. I have had parents say to me, "You take care of the academics, let me deal with the emotional stuff." But unfortunately, kids aren't compartmentalized. If a child has an emotional issue, something that's going on in his or her life, it's going to be very difficult for him or her to learn. And what we try to do is help the students with coping skills, give them an ear to talk to so that they know that there's a place that they can go. They learn how to deal with the problems that are bothering them, so then they can go back to class and be successful in their schoolwork. That is our aim, is to help kids be successful in their schoolwork. But when kids are coming in with problems, it's difficult to do that at times. In the past few years, we have noticed an increase in student stress. The economy is certainly part of it. Parents, because they don't have insurance, are looking to us to do counseling that would normally be done on the outside. Kids are coming to school and are upset because the check hasn't come. They're upset because their parents don't have jobs. They are upset because they hear parents talking and they understand that things aren't the way that they used to be. And kids take that information with them to school. These are some of the issues in the past year that our students have had to deal with. Even though sometimes with family problems, parents make every effort they can to not let the kids know what's going on, kids always know what's going on. They might not know the details, but they know. They can feel the tension in the house, and they come into school and they're expressing their feelings either through acting out or through not participating or through just being sad. We have seen an increased number of students who are in foster care now. We also have a great deal of many students who have chronic illnesses, which I know that was discussed in the school nurse presentation. But we try to support the kids emotionally who are dealing with chronic illnesses. There's a lot of emotional illnesses that we're dealing with, and a lot of ADHD. There could be drug and alcohol problems, both the students when they're older and what's going on in the home. We see at the in ARIS, but mostly in the middle school and high school, we see self-injury, students burning themselves, students pulling out their hair, cutting themselves. These are things that they might be hiding, that their parents might not know, because when kids get to be a certain age, we close the door. We're not seeing them anymore. So those are the kinds of issues that we're dealing with. We're also dealing with eating disorders, and the newest thing is because of social networking, the sexting, the ongoing drama that happens because of Facebook and who said what to whom on Facebook, and those things don't go away, and that comes into school. So the guidance counselors and the VPs and the teachers and everyone else in the school are dealing with the ramifications of things that are going on outside of school. We also have students who have some suicidal and homicidal ideation or attempts. And you'll see in the last note that thus far in the 2010-2011 school year, we've made 31 referrals for suicidal ideation, either to the psychiatric emergency services or to private counselors. 7 of them are at the elementary school level. This was unheard of when I was doing my training in the early 90s, because that's when when I became a guidance counselor. We didn't talk about that for elementary school kids. And in my career, when I first started as a counselor, if I had one student in the year that had suicidal ideation, that was a lot. My heart would beat faster. I would be terrified of what was going to happen to that child. Well, this year we've dealt with 31, at least. Those are the ones we know about. To combat these kinds of problems, to deal with them, the SACs and the counselors meet with the students individually. They also have groups going on. So we have a divorce group, we have social skills groups, and these are at all levels. At the elementary level, they're lunch buddies. They're not called social skills groups, they're called lunch buddies. And at the high school, there's groups of girls or guys who have been picked by teachers or guidance counselors, asked to join these groups because we have perceived that they have had some kinds of social problems dealing with their peers. We also work on facilitating transitions between schools and in the high school going out to college. So we have groups that deal with that. We have orientations. We have walkthroughs of the schools. We have at the high school, we have a senior transition night in June where the kids who have gone to college come back from the previous year and talk to our seniors about what it's like. So we're very conscious of the changes that are going on in the children's lives from kindergarten all the way through graduation and beyond. We collaborate a lot with parents, teachers, administrators, and community agencies. We work with the Child Study team, with the Intervention and Referral Services team, with grade level teams, with the school nurses, supervisors, vice principals, and principals. When a child comes to us who is in crisis, we immediately contact, for example, I'll give you an example. A child comes to the guidance counselor's office and is concerned about a friend. and said that they noticed that their friend had cuts on their arms. Immediately, we talked to the student who was reporting this, asked them how they know it, and then we go and we get the student. And we talk to the student, and first we ask the friend if this student knows that there is the concern, or if they don't. We don't mention the student's name unless the student wants to be there in the session and be there when we talk to the student. So we talk to the student, and we try to find out what's going on. We take the student, if it's an issue of cutting or something that is injurious, we take them to the nurse and ask the nurse to examine them, to take a look, to see what's going on. At that point, when that's happening, someone stays with the student in the nurse's office. We get the student assistance counselor. If the child is classified, we'll get the case manager. We always get a school psychologist, and even though, remember, in Hillsborough, the school psychologists are tied to the child study teams. They're case managers for the classified students. Our school psychologists are also called upon when there's a crisis or when there's a student that we're concerned about, so we get them in, and at the high school, we get the vice principal in. And we talk with the student and find out what's going on. And the school psychologist makes an assessment of whether this child needs to be seen right away, whether this child needs to go home, whether this child needs to see somebody else in school. And we call the parent and ask the parent to come and get the child and explain to them what they need to do. For some children who are already being seen by a psychiatrist or a therapist, they go to see their therapist. Other children are sent to psychiatric emergency services, which is in Somerset Medical Hospital, and we send a referral over to them. At that point, that system takes over. If the child the child can't return to school until a physician, psychiatrist, says that this child is clear to return to school, is not a danger to himself or to others. And at that point, we have a reentry meeting where we make a plan with the student, with the parent, and with the teachers, the counselor, of how this child is going to cope when he or she returns to school, and where he's going to go, what she is going to tell other students about where they've been. So we work on that, and we check in with this student. So it's not just, what I'm trying to explain is that our jobs are not just academic counselors, that we are involved in every aspect of the student's life, and we talk to each other from school to school. Because if we have, I think in one of the elementary schools, a student reported to a counselor that the brother said he was going to hurt himself. And so the school counselor at the elementary school called us at the high school to let us know, and then we went to work and found the student and talked to him and referred him. We also coordinate with treatment facilities, make sure that the students get home instruction if they need it. We provide support for families, and we also provide support for staff members. Very often, a staff member who is having a personal crisis or is upset about, for example, when we had the death of a teacher, those teachers will seek out the counselors and talk to the counselors about their concerns. So we are really the people that are turned to in times of crisis, in times of sadness, and just in times of personal upheaval. Also, we reach out to the community by being active in outside agencies' committees. The SACs are members of the Municipal Alliance. We also provide court-ordered information for DIFAS at the high school for probation and also for Social Security. We counsel in times of crisis in the community. If there's a death of a student or an accident, we come in, even if it means during the summer. We had an incident a few years ago during the summer, and the counselors came in during the summer. On the weekends, if we have to, we will. We are very much a part of this community, and we very much care about the kids in this community. And we're not, in our job, you can't just be a 9-to-5 person. You're thinking about those kids when you leave the building. You're thinking about them all night long. You're thinking about them during the summer. And some of them who are particularly at risk or needy, we reach out to them during the summer because we're concerned about them. We also consult with the Hillsborough Police. That's usually at the middle school and the high school. We consult with the Traumatic Loss Coalition and with the Family Crisis Center. We try to provide a safe and nurturing place at all school levels. And the difficulty is that when we're trying to put out the fires of kids in crisis, we might be missing some of the kids who could use just a little extra TLC from us. We are empathetic listeners. We work with kids who are having difficulties. We'll role play with them. If they're having difficulty with a teacher, we'll offer to role play, and we'll be the teacher, and they can be themselves and practice what they want to say to the teacher. And we're the place that kids can go when they need to calm down. And often we have kids that just come down to just take a breath for a few minutes before they go back to class. Okay, so our concerns. With the increase in student and societal stress, we are constantly in crisis mode. The developmental guidance program is supposed to be mostly proactive and preventative, the lessons that we go into the classrooms. But if we have a kid in crisis, the lesson that is supposed to be taught that day in a particular classroom does not get taught and we have to rearrange our schedules. Or in the high school often, another counselor will cover. If there's supposed to be a group presentation, we'll go cover the group in order so that the guidance counselor of the child who is in crisis can work with that child. We need to help kids develop coping skills and resiliency in order to deal with the problems of the world. And in order to do that, we need to be able to go in and talk when things are not in crisis. In the elementary schools, there's 6 elementary schools. We have 3 guidance counselors in the elementary school. One principal told me that in his school, you can't cry on an odd day because the guidance counselor is only there on the even days. When I met with the counselors, and Dr. Antunes and I met with the K-8 counselors, they told us that there's times when if they're not in the right school at the right time, they're doing counseling over the phone with the kids because a kid needs them. We're also very concerned because the kids are exposed to so many adult problems and issues through the media, through social media, and we want to be able to do more prevention with them, more refusal skills, more making good choices. ARIS doesn't have a SAC, and even though there is we don't know of a drug problem, an alcohol problem at ARIS at that level, we want to do prevention with those kids. DARE isn't enough, okay? We need to establish patterns and groups for kids to express themselves. At Hillsborough Middle School, we have 1 SAC for the entire school. At Hillsborough High School, we have 2. They're running from the minute they get there in the morning until later. The kids that they work with very closely have their cell phone numbers. They're texting them. They're contacting them at night. The parents are contacting them at night. Okay? What we need is a school psychologist to help with this, but one who doesn't have their own duties with the child study team. Because when we have a crisis in the school psychologist who has child study team duties is taken away from that. So we need a psychologist that is there for the kids who aren't classified, because most of the kids who we see that are in crisis are not classified students. And we also have a concern about the new bullying law, because we do so much anti-bullying programs. Anytime we hear of a bullying incident, we follow up on it. The principal, the vice principal, the SACs, we're all on it. But with the new bullying law that's coming into effect in September, the amount of paperwork that we're going to have to do and the time limits that we have, we're very concerned that the kids are going to get short shrift. So these are the kinds of things that we're very concerned about. And you may ask after this presentation, why would anybody want to be a school counselor? And now Anna Mailer is going to come and tell you.
Thank you, Hillary. That was great. Good evening. As Hillary said, I often hear, and you may be thinking it too after listening to this presentation, what a depressing job. How do you sit around and listen to people's problems all day long? I feel like it's when people who live out of state ask me how I can live in New Jersey. They see only the negative aspects and are not aware of all the great things about our state. I grew up in a time and place, exit 12 off the New Jersey Turnpike, where the only counselor you ever saw was the high school counselor who told you how to fill out your college application. I did not have any other guidance about growing up, and I sure could have used it. Yes, I had parents and friends, but sometimes I needed more than just their viewpoints. I spent many years trying to find my way in the world. So I am proud to be able to offer students something I wished I had growing up, a trusted adult to guide me, confide in, and empower me. Things have changed a lot since my school days. The world has gotten even more complex, and now we recognize the need for children to have as many positive, caring adults in their lives as possible. So what's so great about being a counselor? For one thing, no 2 days are ever alike. It's never boring or tedious. You never know what each day will bring. More importantly, there's the satisfaction of knowing that you have helped someone in need, especially students, but also parents and colleagues. That satisfaction is immeasurable. To be able to sit with someone while they share their pain, worries, fears with you, to know that you are trusted with someone's innermost thoughts, and to be able to connect with them on a personal level, it's a privilege when someone allows you into their world like that. As you saw in the presentation, as counselors, we wear many hats. We serve as a sounding board so someone can vent frustration. We serve as the mediator in conflicts between students. We serve as advocates for students when they're bullied, misunderstood. We serve as partners in problem solving to help students make good choices, to discover their own solutions rather than try to fix things for them. We serve as educators, working with individual and small groups of students, teaching social skills, teaching organizational skills, teaching anger and stress management, teaching alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention, bullying prevention, the list goes on and on. We have no magic wands, but we help students to recognize that they can overcome obstacles, achieve success, deal with losses, manage emotions, and ultimately, we aim to empower them to the point where they no longer need us. And at that point, we know we have done our job. We plant a lot of seeds, and we don't always see the fruits of our efforts, but when we do get the occasional visit or email from a former student, it makes it all worth it. For me, it's not about statistics and all the things listed in our job descriptions. It's the reward of knowing that you have made a difference in our corner of the world. So I think I speak for all of us when I say that's why we love being counselors. Thank you.
That was a very impressive presentation, very sobering. When I was a principal, I used to refer to my guidance counselors as quiet heroes. And the reason I shared that with them is that their successes are very quiet successes. People don't necessarily know how, when a family is in crisis, how that guidance counselor made a difference in that family and that child's life. Those type of successes are kept private. And I know I speak for the entire board when I say thank you for the work that you do. Our guidance counselors who are here tonight, would you please recognize yourselves? Raise your hands. Let's give them a round of applause, please. I would like to open it at this moment for any questions from our school board. to Hillary or any of the other counselors who are here?
The refusal skills, could you explain more about that?
It's being able to say no, so that if they're at a party and there's peer pressure and they want to, and their friends are urging them to do something that they know is wrong, drink, or even, and it could be younger children with just doing something, cutting out of school or stealing something in a store. We want to teach kids how to say no, and how to say no in a way that they come out feeling very good about themselves, yet not alienating their friends.
And in between putting out the fires, you're trying to get everybody into college too, correct?
Pardon me?
You're trying to get everybody into college who's graduating also, correct?
We're trying
Or
to get-
wherever they want to go.
We try to get them to be able to do what they want to do. We want to keep as many doors open for them as possible, whether it's the service, whether it's going directly to employment and then going to college later on, whether it's four-year college, two-year college. We want them to have a plan, we want them to have a goal, and we want to try to help them meet that goal.
So how soon do you do that with the high school students? Do
Well-
you meet with, as freshmen to see where they are planning?
No. Mm-mm. In the ninth grade, we want to get them accustomed to high school. And we talk to them about learning styles. We talk to them about, we talk about how they learn the best. We talk to them about their personalities, what they're interested in. In the 10th grade, we go into career things, and we talk about, they do career interest inventories, they go on Naviance, and we have Naviance from the time they enter into the 9th grade. And we talk to them about, they do a lot of exploration. Now, when they're doing those career explorations, that's where they're going to find out what they have to major in order to be those particular careers. And then there's links in that to colleges that would have those majors. But we really get into the serious, where do you want to go things in the junior year. Because you have to have, first of all, you have to have something to base where you want to go on. Now, every kindergarten kid wants to go to Harvard. By the time they get to high school, some of them still want to go to Harvard. Some of them say, no, I don't want to study that hard. So they decide they want to go someplace else. So we start working with them. Now we also have colleges come into the school and talk to the kids about particular colleges. Juniors and seniors can go to those presentations. So really the actual where do you want to go is we do in the junior year.
Thank you. Dr. Rosenberg.
I can recall, wasn't too many years ago, where there was discussion at this board table about reducing the number of counselors in the district for budgetary reasons, and I am so glad we didn't do that.
Thank you. So are we.
That was misguided, and I'm glad we didn't do it. I know from several parents, from several people, how guidance counselors have intervened at the lower grades, and I do think that's something that most parents don't know, that when it comes to bullying, when it comes to depression, things like that, you guys are there. I also want to commend the guidance department. Over the past couple of years, I've noticed in the reports that we're getting a much broader diversity of colleges recruiting at Hillsborough, coming to our college fair, which I guess has grown over the years. And so it's not just the New Jersey colleges that are coming now.
No.
I guess people, I think it's mostly due to the efforts of you guys to get the word out that more colleges want to talk to our kids. And I think that's great, so thank you.
You're welcome. The college fair this year is this Wednesday night, and please come and view it if you'd like. It's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. We have over 120 colleges, technical schools, the armed services will be there. And we're finding every year, we run a very good fair. We feed them well, we give them presents, we give them snacks, and we get phone calls from colleges that are not on our invitation list asking if they can come. So that's good when it's starting to go around. And then a lot of them come back in the fall individually to talk to our kids, and that's very important, so that when for example, I used Lafayette, I know, last year because someone on the board told me they went to Lafayette, and I don't know if that person's still here or not, but anyway.
You can use Cornell this year.
Okay, I'll use Cornell. If Cornell comes and 12 kids come to that Cornell visit, they get to ask individual questions, and they also, by the time that they leave that session, the Cornell representative, who is usually the person who does the reading of the essays, knows the names of our kids, and that's really important.
Mr. Gillette?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that it's been my pleasure these past 4 years to serve on the Hillsborough Millstone Municipal Alliance with our 3 student assistance counselors, Mrs. Mailer, who's here tonight, and also Gil and Rebecca at the high school. I read the reports every month, and I see all the activities they're involved in and what they're doing to help the kids. In fact, I mentioned to Dr. Schiff just a few days ago that, and as you saw from the report tonight, they need assistance because they're doing good work. And I asked Dr. Schiff if he wouldn't investigate the possibility of adding a 3rd SAC at the high school. And I had some ideas how we could pay for that, but I'm not going to talk about those tonight. But I hope we can do that in the future because they are doing some good work there, and I applaud them. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sargent?
Thank you, Dr. Paget. Thank you, Hillary, for your presentation. And while it's unfortunate that we are sharing counselors across our elementary schools, I did want to acknowledge that our elementary school teachers are a very supportive and capable group. Many of them are parents themselves, and in the absence of a trained counselor, it certainly is a comfort to know that we have those very fine educators working with our youngest students and keeping them safe.
Yes.
Mrs. Alay?
I actually can attest to the popularity of your career fair. I was at Kane University, and they mentioned your career fair, and I meant to email you, so now I'm going to thank you publicly.
Oh, thank
for
you.
that.
That's good to know.
And I just wanted to, the refusal skills, it's so important because we see students come before the board, and I think sometimes there's a fine line between knowing how to say no to other peers, and they don't understand the consequences of their actions.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again to all of our counselors for tonight's presentation. Very well done.